today. So this is just plans for the quarter. Thanks for the recording. So this will just be plans for the quarter. I'll speak a bit on the club background, club history, and then Jack will be kind of filling us in on plans for the quarter, things we aim to do, and kind of where a lot of our thinking is at, and how you guys can definitely get involved. A lot of cool stuff. And likewise, the board. So Kiro, David, and Zeke are also contributing members, also members of the board. So they probably have thoughts they can contribute as well as we go through the presentation. So we're just going to give a kind of a basic introduction over who we are, the club mission, a brief overview of the kind of blockchain industry and also the crypto industry, the stuff we all work in, club resources, and how to get involved. So we ourselves are Blockchain UCLA. We're a community of students focused on educating and engaging the UCLA and the greater LA community about blockchain and decentralized technologies. We're made up of both undergraduate and graduate students within UCLA, as well as having connections to alumni of both UCLA and also just broader crypto companies and industry members within the LA area. So something we've been very good at throughout most of our time here is just basically meeting people, adding a lot of value, connecting students with people who are in the industry, connecting people in the industry with our students when we have events, and really getting the valuable part of letting people understand what's really out there. Sometimes student life is really a bubble, and in kind of giving that perspective on like how, you know, a lot of these things work, what do people work on a day-to-day basis, is something that we give a lot of thought to. So more specifically who we are, the board is made up of myself, David, who's the president, Jack, who's the VP, Kiro, the treasurer, and Zeke was our secretary, although the board itself is operated in a very sort of open manner. So if you have any ideas to pitch to any members of the board or just kind of want to get to know anyone better, everyone's a really good person to know. And if there's something that one specific person may be able to help someone better with, definitely be forwarded onto that member. Additionally, we have lots of leadership roles that are open in the club as well. It's not just the board. We have a bunch of members in our Discord, but we also have leadership opportunities for people who would like to contribute more than just being a regular community member. We're looking for people who can kind of take their own initiative, lead actions and lead activities that will help the club as a whole. And this is actually one of the best ways that we kind of fold in new board members. So we have a lot of operational assistance we can definitely use help with, including marketing, event ideas, kind of operations in terms of graphic design, accounting, anything that kind of helps bring the reach of the club outwards. And also we have a very, very strong industry presence built up over the better half of the decade. This club was actually originally founded in late 2017. We've been through now 2 protracted bull cycles and a bear cycle. So we have really kind of a lot of presence throughout these past 5 years, kind of in all aspects of the industry here and there. So it's something that being with crypto being a very small industry is actually quite a sizable impact. And I wanted to also speak on our club mission. So Blockchain UCLA is a student club, but we also want to encapsulate all aspects of what we're trying to do in our club mission. So our mission statement is to lead the entire UCLA community with our research efforts, our academic efforts, and our community building efforts. So we like to, one, teach people kind of what this sort of technology is, how it can be applied, and get those people opportunities in space, as well as research itself, right? Having the idea to build a space for discussion and complex thought to the point where people can actually create novel research efforts in the space, whether it be things within cryptography, blockchain itself, distributed systems, or economics, or something within all 4 of these fields, as well as having the community building efforts, right? At the end of the day, this is university. I know it's kind of been feeling a bit different since we've been on Zoom for the past 2 years, but having kind of our home base on Discord and having a lot of community discourse through there has allowed us to really stay active and stay nimble as a group of people who are interested in blockchain. So for us, it's one thing that we really pride ourselves into. having this mission to bring the field forward and also work with faculty, connecting them with students, and bringing the entire kind of effort into an organized collective. And then the kind of primary value add, the way we structure the club is through the 3 pillars. So in the club itself, we have the academic, technical, and the industry pillar. These are basically the ways that we provide value to students in the club. And this is how we organize our activities. So the 3 main areas in this one kind of show our where our resources are and also where our strategy is. In terms of the academic side of things, we teach a CS 188 class, which is an upper div computer science class. We've had a bunch of guest speakers as well from alumni come in and speak. Matt is actually one of them, who's actually in this Discord, who's in his Zoom chat right now. But CS 188, the class title is Distributed Blockchains, Distributed Systems and Blockchains, listed under Professor Ellie Gaffney. That has been taught for the past 3 years. The first year was under a different professor. These past 2 years has been spring 2020 and spring 2021. Something that we really enjoy teaching, as it was the first blockchain engineering class within the school and with also actually within the LA area as well. So it's something that from a theoretical perspective has been one of the most rigorous offerings we've been able to create with blockchain in general in our community. We also have these weekly lectures, which you guys have probably, at least, you're tuning in right now, but we also have had 2, we've had them the past 2 weeks as well, planning to have them for the rest of the quarter. And lastly, we have relationships with faculty that'll bring us kind of people who are interested in having this research opportunity, or just kind of want to see what goes on behind the scenes. We have these kind of pipelines for people interested in directly working with faculty. These sort of things are kind of hard to first establish, because one of the issues with meeting with faculty is that you don't necessarily know who's working on what and what people's interests are. But having this sort of community that we've built with them really allows us to kind of connect the dots. Their second pillar here is technical. So this is one thing that we also really think creates a lot of value. So being technical, you can actually build a lot of things. And being technical is not necessarily just coding. It also means, having the ability to create, I would say technical is a kind of can be used here as a broader term, right? So like technical with technical within the idea of building websites, but also building kind of DAOs as well. One aspect of it, being able to use the blockchain transactions on that perspective, managing Twitters, things like that. So technical here is not just only coding, but a lot of coding actually does help, since you can kind of hit the ground running with contributing to projects in the industry right away. So we have some workshops and capture the flag tournaments planned. We also have consulting opportunities and also just conferences, both technical and non-technical. And then the last pillar we have is just the industry pillar. This is something that is kind of the direct pipeline to industry. We have a partnership with Andreessen Horowitz on our vote delegation program. So we're actually delegates for Compound and Uniswap, as well as having a separate external partnership for Aave. In these cases, we vote on these upcoming decentralized finance protocols, governance proposals. And we as a club, after receiving feedback from the Discord, vote on which way, on either supporting or refusing the proposals, and kind of share our opinions. And this is also one great way to get people who are interested in DeFi and blockchain in general directly exposed into the space. We also have industry speakers. So we've had Nasari come on and speak last quarter. We've had venture capitalists come and speak throughout the history of the club. Arbitrum is some people that we are hoping to have an event with. We also have kind of just generalized like crypto/DeFi talk in the Discord, as you guys might see. A lot of the members in the club are just individually involved in their own ways. And then in terms of kind of our alumni relations, these are just some of the companies that we've either worked at or our alumni are working at currently right now. So this kind of contributes both within the crypto space, but also the general tech space and also just professional space as a whole. One of the great things about having this community is that you can always sort of have this connection and see where people have gone throughout their time at UCLA, but also within the Blockchain UCLA Club. It's really nice to kind of have this perspective, since UCLA being such a large school, you don't really necessarily get a kind of directed help, right, in terms of where people should go or like what jobs you should do. But through having this sort of alumni network, it's something that we can directly help people with advice or just connections in where they want to work and what they want to do. And then kind of just speak on our events. So we've had a few big events past few years. The more organized ones were towards the 2018, 2019 era. We had two very large ones, Cyber Days, which is the winter 2018 one, received mainstream press coverage. We got covered in Forbes for that fortune as well. And then we had our kind of large Genesis Blockchain Summit in fall 2018, which was a 300-person sold out event. It was 8 hours from 8 in the morning to 4 p.m. in the afternoon. We had people from Sony Pictures, Bloomberg, IBM, World Economic Forum. We co-hosted it with EY, the Big Four firm, and then we also gave a lot of corporate opinions on. We got a lot of opinions from both the corporate world, but also the kind of the non-corporate but still tech world in kind of how blockchain technology can be used today. So this was a few years ago, and also kind of seeing that progress, I think it was kind of one of those things that laid the foundation for these kind of companies to get exposed to blockchain itself. And then our normal industry events usually happen once or twice per quarter. Last quarter we had Masari Hub, which was our featured speaker. So Marte from Masari speaking on the crypto industry from a financial perspective. So the finance industry is one that is kind of probably one of the most similar to the crypto industry in terms of how the investments work and also how the whole thing is structured. But it is very different since this kind of generation of crypto is a whole new twist on the traditional financial world. She came and spoke for about 2 hours on kind of how all this stuff works from her perspective. And these kind of industry events are like one of the really great ways to get these thoughts and these perspectives from people who are just working on this stuff day to day. And then also we've kind of had just various industry events here and there, past several quarters, past 3 years, just general startups, other things that you might think are pretty cool to work on. So yeah, and then I will hand it over to Jack, who will kind of describe the rest of the presentation and also just a brief view of the industry and also other ways you can kind of keep contributing. So Jack, if you want to share your screen, I'll stop sharing now, and then Kiro might have to make you co-host.
Sure. 1 moment. Okay. Can you see that all right? Oh. Can you see this?
Yeah,
that's good.
All right, cool. All right. Yeah, so since this is an introduction meeting, figured we'd probably go over some of the basics, some of the fun stuff that you can kind of find in this industry. A good starter is, what actually is blockchain. There's lots of different definitions for what blockchain actually is, so I put some of them up here. We'll take a moment to read them. Digital ledger in which transactions are made in Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency are chronologically and publicly, got my Zoom thing over so I can't really see it, are recorded. An append-only transaction ledger, a growing list of records called blocks, which are linked using cryptography. And you can probably read the rest of them. I'm just moving all my Zoom controls around so I can actually read them, sorry. But the important takeaway here is that we have a lot of common language. We have this kind of immutable permanent ledger, which we're always appending to, and it's secured via cryptography somehow, and a ledger being some sort of file that documents transactions. So Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency, as you probably heard of, to popularize this. I have it defined as a digital, decentralized, permissionless, peer-to-peer payment network. So the idea is we're taking that decentralized ledger and we are recording it through the Bitcoin network, and anyone can make transactions to anyone else on the network, and no one can change it. And yes, it's that through the blockchain we can make transactions. And then the second biggest cryptocurrency at the moment is Ethereum, which was the first cryptocurrency to popularize on-chain smart contracts. Smart contracts are expanding that idea of placing transactions in this permanent ledger and expanding that to also include programs. So we can write, computer code, upload them onto the Ethereum network, and then anyone can interact with them. And so that creates a really cool system where we have these things called decentralized apps, which is abbreviated dApps. And those are just, smart contracts, programs, whatever, that anyone can go and interact with in that same decentralized permissionless way. And those dApps are the foundation of what we call DeFi, which stands for decentralized finance, and Web3, which I will talk about right now. So DeFi, again, decentralized finance, is kind of this idea of rebuilding all of our financial infrastructure on chain. So our existing financial infrastructure, we call TradFi, traditional finance, which is being upgraded through the system into DeFi, which we say is better because it's efficient. There's no middleman. You don't have to, actually go through your bank if you want to take out like a. Sorry, I realize I'm getting ahead of myself. We would construct something like a bank or a decentralized loan platform through these dApps, and then that would mean that you can have all the same functionality as going to a bank like Wells Fargo or Chase or whatever, except it's done through these Ethereum applications. So they're more efficient because there's no middleman. You're not actually paying like the thousands of workers that Wells Fargo has or whatever. It's modern. There's not someone behind the scenes who's actually going and taking a piece of paper and signing it and filing it in the filing cabinet, which is pretty outdated at this point. It's trustless. There's been tons of problems with, our existing financial infrastructure is pretty corrupt. There's tons of problems with it. And if assuming you create these programs correctly, you can kind of skip that. You don't have to trust your bank. You don't have to give your bank your personal information, all that kind of thing. And it's decentralized. So it's all peer-to-peer, which means that you can actually be the other side of the bank. So doing things like creating loans or giving loans is pretty, you can't do that as an individual in traditional finance. Or at least you can't do it on the same scale that a bank does. But through DeFi, everything has to be peer-to-peer. So everything's, trades, and everything's these programs where I can actually take the other side of the trade and I can be the one providing the loan, which means I can be generating that interest myself. A good example I like to use is, when you put your money in a savings account, money market, traditional finance savings account only generate like less than 1% yield on your money that's just sitting there. But what's happening behind the scenes is the bank is actually going and creating loans and loaning it to other banks and all sorts of monetary stuff and generating way more than the 1% that they're giving you, or the less than 1%. So in DeFi, you can actually be the person who's doing that and take that yield for yourself, which is pretty sweet. And of course, it's decentralized, so it's permissionless. You can't be censored depending on where you are. It's global. I can be the one trading with someone across the world, and it doesn't close on weekends or Sundays. And for those reasons, it's a pretty cool system. On the right side, I have some examples of TradFi businesses that have been rebuilt as DeFi apps. Some notable examples are at top, we have money. You have like your US dollars. Common critique of things like Bitcoin is that they're not stable assets. That's so volatile that it doesn't actually make sense to trade in them or do business in them, because if you go to the store to buy a soda with Bitcoin, it might be worth 0.01 Bitcoin and 0.02 Bitcoin, and it's like fluctuating so fast that it's not even useful. So we have things called stable coins. The example up there is DAI. Jason mentioned Frax, and those are cryptocurrencies which have been built on top of Ethereum. Most coins, if you've invested or bought some of the more stupid stuff in the space, aren't actually their own blockchains or anything. They're just contracts sitting on top of Ethereum. So things like DAI are that. They're just a secondary coin that's built on top of ETH. And then we have central banking. So the first, I wish I could point. I wish I had a laser pointer or something. DAI is the gold D with lines through it, and right below that we have Maker. Maker is a DAO, which stands for Decentralized Autonomous Organization. And DAOs are essentially companies that we've moved on chain, so anyone can join them and anyone can partake in the governance, kind of like how Jason was saying we do with Aave, Compound, and Uniswap. So Maker controls the DAI supply, so they are kind of the equivalent to the central bank. Then we have, commercial banking. I've talked about banks a lot. Compound is a system it's a black circle with the 3 green squares on it. Compound is a system where you can actually, and Aave is right next to it. We've also mentioned that one. That's a protocol where you can actually go and take out these decentralized loans, or I can be someone who supplies my assets to Compound or Aave and generate that yield of loaning it out to people, which is pretty cool. Down further, in the middle, we have the exchange level. There's the pink unicorn. That's Uniswap, which is the most popular exchange. Generally, if you guys have tried to trade like weird coins that aren't on things like Coinbase or Binance, you have to go buy them on decentralized exchanges, which are called DEXs. And Uniswap was kind of the first to do that. Essentially, in traditional markets, like you could think of like Robinhood or E-Trade or Coinbase, you've got people behind the scenes who are market making, who are supplying those assets so you can freely buy and trade, or there's either that or an order book where people are matching bids and asks, and in order to allow you to actually buy and sell those assets. And in DeFi, that's a lot harder to do, you don't want to have an order book because that'd be inefficient. And also you don't want to have, these centralized market makers for everything because it's decentralized. So anyone can go and supply assets to something like a Uniswap, the decentralized exchange, and other people can trade between those. So me as a supplier, I'm making yield, and that allows someone else to come make a market, to come use that market and buy and sell weird things that wouldn't be listed on Coinbase or other equivalents. Insurance, next to mutual, is the kind of black thing with the 4 sides to it. That's a decentralized insurance protocol with, I think they're providing insurance if your funds got stolen or something like that. A cool example. I can skip the rest of them. Oh, actually, maybe Yearn Finance, which is the bottom right one. The blue circle was the arrows. All of them I'm just describing all these different token icons. Yearn is a aggregator which goes and deposits. You can deposit your money in it, and it goes to different DeFi protocols and generates yield on it. So that would be kind of like they have in the asset management category. Kind of like investing. So that's kind of some examples of DeFi protocols. And this is Web3, which is also a big buzzword. Web3 is like the 3rd iteration of the internet, of the web. And the big revolution is that you can now own pieces of the web. It's the user-owned web. Basically, we've kind of retroactively gone and named 3 iterations of the internet: Web 1, Web 2, and 3. Web 1 is the example I have kind of on the top, where it's just like company servers hosting read-only static web pages. There's no interaction on the website. It's just you've got some HTML doc that's presenting information in a way you want, and that's kind of it. It's like a database where you can read about companies or whatnot. Web 2 is actually adding the interactive layer, so you can give people write permissions to the web. If Web 1 is read, then Web 2 is read and write. So you're giving people write permissions, and you can have user-generated content. So a good example is kind of like the blogging craze of like the mid 2000s to 2010s. I don't know. Things like social media, your Facebook, Instagrams, Twitters, ride sharing, where you've got people who are supplying, your Uber and Lyft. That's all because now the users are able to push content to the web. Now Web3, what that is, the hype is that this is just as big of a jump as either of those two iterations. And if Web 1 is read and Web 2 is read write, then Web 3 is read, write, and own. So you're actually taking ownership of the things that are on the website. So right now, or not even on the website, you're the web itself. So the example I have on the right is I think Audius, which is being marketed as a kind of alternative to Spotify. You guys probably know that if you go and listen to music on Spotify, the artist only gets like a tiny fraction of a penny for every listen. And it's a pretty crummy situation for them. because there's no like direct passage for them to get you your music other than like streaming it. And Web3 companies like Audius are trying to fight this by, you're not going through something like Spotify. The artist is actually pushing the content directly to its users through the Web3 protocol. That's kind of hard to explain. I'm not super familiar with Audius, but the idea is that you're actually owning the things, the websites and the protocols being the processes that you're interacting with. So in Web3 apps, you're hooking into Ethereum and having that same peer-to-peer system that I was talking about with DeFi, and you're actually partaking in the ownership. So like Ethereum itself, which is what I said, all these contracts are hosted on, you own and help run by being a part of it. By holding Ethereum, you're part of that network. You can have a validator, which helps you run it. You are kind of the force that's maintaining that as opposed to some company. And that's really powerful. The examples I have listed are Audius, which I talked about, Arweave and Bat. Arweave is a system for file storage. You can push websites, files, anything, kind of like you would to Google Drive or something like that. You could instead put on a system like Filecoin or Arweave. Arweave is a cool example because you like give it a certain amount of money and then it generates yield on that money so that they can host the website for like 1,000 years or something ridiculous. And it's cool because people are using it for like uncensorable media. Like I know it's super popular in like China for a lot of the stuff that's been censored there. People will go to Arweave and like host it. And it's not really possible to take it down because there's a whole network of people providing it. BAT stands for Basic Attention Token. If you guys have seen a Brave browser, they're trying to compete with other browsers like Google Chrome or Firefox, and one of their main things is that you guys probably know Google is harvesting all sorts of data on you to serve you ads, and that's their whole business model. But Brave changes that so that they keep the ads kind of in your browser and then they serve them to you based on this like machine learning algorithm. And then you can, if you're someone who wants to like pay for an ad, aka you're like an advertiser, you pay for it in this basic attention token, this BAT, and then the user receives that BAT, and so does the person who's like if you're a YouTuber, you would receive BAT for hosting the ad on your video, and as a user, you would get the part of the revenue of them having it. So it creates this market where the advertisers actually have to buy the advertising attention from the users, which is pretty cool, and then simultaneously gets rid of the whole "we're harvesting all your data" thing. So there's a lot of like really revolutionary stuff happening here. And I think between DeFi and Web3, I think it's just too important to ignore. Some of the more fun examples, you guys have probably already seen NFT craze. On the top left, we have a CryptoPunk is the name of our piece that sold for 11 million on Sotheby's. I think the most expensive NFT so far was a Beeple piece that was like 70 million or something ridiculous. Below that, we have Steph Curry and his Bored Ape. It's just, I think currently his profile picture on Twitter. The box is, if you guys like Wu-Tang Clan, there's this kind of long internet history story of Wu-Tang made this like one album that they never released to anyone. They only made one copy of it and sealed it in this box. And it was bought by this guy, Martin Shkreli, who's like your classic internet bad guy who like made his fortune by like upselling like important medicine. And essentially there's a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization, like went and pooled money and bought it from him. I think he went to jail. That's cool. On the bottom, we have Wonderland, which is in the news recently. For a while, they're providing like a DeFi protocol, very, very Ponzi-ish, where they're offering like 80,000 APY on your investment. Essentially, whatever deposit you made in their token, they would, by the end of the year, you'd come out with like 80,000% more of it, which is nuts. But there's also like nutcase yields everywhere in DeFi. Like there's a reason why a ton of people are just making ridiculous money with it. But just yesterday or the day before, it turned out that the one of the treasury manager of Wonderland was this guy who was involved in this like exchange scam, and his like partner died mysteriously, and they ran off with like $200 million of Bitcoin. It's, I don't know, crazy story. Tie in with that, or kind of a ironic follow-up, is Tornado Cash, which is kind of spiral symbol. Tornado Cash is a system where you can deposit money into it, and then it shuffles it around and spits it out on the other side, and there's no way to like trace it. So it's super common for either people who want privacy for multiple reasons, or a lot of times when you see big like large profile DeFi hacks, people will just immediately go dump all the money in Tornado Cash so you can't trace it. The bottom right, I saw a guy the other day who was selling his name as an NFT. So whoever was holding the NFT could like change his name at will, which is pretty funny. Top right, we have Metaverse. You guys probably saw that Facebook recently changed its name to Meta because they want to be a Metaverse company. A lot of, I would argue that in the Metaverse is a kind of a crypto native idea. The idea is all these kind of like blockchain ideas, like NFTs become digital items in the metaverse, and your ownership of things is proven on the blockchain. And a lot of, I think this picture is from Decentraland, which is a token you can go buy. Point is there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in the space. A lot of it's very exciting. It's a very fun thing to be a part of. The good things and the bad things. It's just kind of like ridiculous, and it's moving so fast that it's just exciting to be a part of. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the resources the club has. The first is excuse me. First, our education series. We host a weekly presentation like the one you're listening to right now about various topics. We're going to talk about some more of our topics in a little bit. We also have lots of past presentations. This is a link to our Google Drive if you want to check some of that out. As Jason said, the club's been around for a good while, and we've talked about a good number of things. So we have just tons of resources in our Discord and outside of it of stuff that you can tap into. There's CS 188, which Jason mentioned. That's the class that got adopted from our weekly education presentation, which is pretty cool. That almost rhymed. We've got plans to work with some of the professors. Actually was hoping Jason could talk about some of this part, the connection lab and the IRI and ACE.
Yeah, sure. Just so yeah, we've had a lot of success with engaging with faculty here on the sort of student-led initiatives. So one thing is that the Connection Lab is a brand new space in Boulder Hall that was started in 2019 but finished last year. And one thing that Professor Kleinreich's been like really helpful with is getting Blockchain UCLA a spot in there. So we actually have a reserved spot in the Connection Lab for our students, somewhere where we can basically go there as like a research space. And then the Connection Lab is also part of Professor Kleinreich's Internet Research Initiative. So the Internet Research Initiative is a research opportunity for undergraduates who are looking to do research, but don't have necessarily a well-developed thesis, similar to how master's or PhD students have. So it's an undergrad focused opportunity that's actually really, really helpful for getting your like toes wet into like what kind of research means. They also pair you with a mentor and give you a small bit of funding, which is pretty helpful. And then last thing is the upcoming Algorand Center of Excellence, which is something that Professor Kleinreich's also helping with. This is something that we're hoping to get off the ground later this year. Still all tentative in the works, so nothing finalized yet. But if it comes through, it'll be sort of a grant given to the school, and also something that the club will also be able to help out with in terms of getting people on board, and also potentially teaching people about Algorand. So yeah.
Cool. I think I lost. Oh, there we go. All right. As I mentioned, we have our weekly lecture. That's what you're tuned into currently. These are some of the topics that we're going to talk about. It's every day, or it's every week from 6 to 7 on Fridays. Usually this would be an in-person thing. But since kind of COVID, Discord has become our home. Everything's going to be over Zoom for a little bit longer. So definitely hop in there. Week 2 and week 3 is behind us. We had lectures on layer 2's rollups by David, a Bitcoin fundamental kind of technical presentation by Jason. And then we've got a lot of cool topics coming. Week 5 is going to be, I'm not entirely sure what by Web3 means, but I believe Kira is going to take a presentation on that. I'm going to be giving a more in-depth presentation on some of these DeFi Web3 topics. Week 7 to 10 got a lot more coming. I think David was talking about presenting on some of the biggest hacks in DeFi. There's some ridiculous examples of companies losing like millions or billions of dollars that is pretty entertaining. I was thinking of presenting on MEV, which is miner extracted value. Kiro might explain how to farm yield like a degenerate. that 80,000 APY, like I was mentioning, is pretty interesting to go see where you can actually make that kind of I don't know, farming yield. So those are all some potential topics. Stay tuned in our Discord, and we'll be presenting, or we'll let you know when each thing is going to be. If you guys are wanting to come to these general meetings or these presentations, please fill out this one to meet. I'm going to try to copy it, put it in the Zoom chat because I'm not sure if you can see it or click it. But this is our normal, time slot, 6 to 7 Fridays. But if there's something that works better, we can switch to something else. Oh, and the workshop when to meet time, I will face that as well. I believe Zeke is planning on hosting a kind of a beginner Solidity programming course, which is how you program these smart contracts. Yes. And there we will also be having a lot more just kind of additional events that we will kind of announce as we come up with them. Obviously, not everything is just weekly presentations. We'll be having some more less structured stuff and just more random topic stuff constantly. So again, tune into the Discord for those. Okay, and then we're also having some upcoming projects. David's putting together a CTF, stands for Capture the Flag. Essentially, there'll be a bunch of smart contracts deployed, maybe on testnet, maybe on main. I'm not sure. I haven't been building it, but and possibly during a hackathon, we will open it up to you guys, and you can go try to hack them if you are inclined that direction. You can become a shadowy supercoder. It's pretty cool. There's lots of security is obviously very important in blockchain because everything is heavily reliant on it, and so learning the potential security flaws and actually going and hacking those things is pretty important and also pretty cool. And then I've been planning in investment DAO. Obviously, a big part of crypto is actually trying to turn a profit, and lots of DAOs are focused on investment. So I was hoping that we could build one. I was hoping some of the noob programmers would learn Solidity and then spend some time working to actually build this. It sounds a lot harder and more daunting than it actually is, and I think it would be a really cool first project for a lot of people. So that is something to look forward to. There's a Discord channel for that. It's investment DAO, #investment DAO. Go hang out there if you're interested in building that. And then I think that'd be a cool way to kind of bring us together. Is then we'd have kind of a on-chain presence. I think it's my mouse bugging out. Sorry. Okay. Why should you care about us? Familiarize yourself with an important disruptive area of technology. As I've said before, and obviously I'm biased, but I think blockchain is one of the most revolutionary technologies of our current time. I think especially as kind of someone who's trying to be more technical, trying to be more computer sciencey, this is the single place to be. You can build great connections with professionals and companies, not just blockchain companies. We've had alumni go on and do some really incredible things. This tech is like extremely in demand, so learning it is pretty helpful in your job search. And you can connect with student expertise from across the university. Obviously, most everyone who's kind of, this is the spot to be if this is what you're interested in. So if you're trying to, be a Solidity dev or be a crypto trader or just hang out in DeFi, this is where you should be. And then you can get experience in all these things, get experience using DeFi, governing Web3. As we've mentioned multiple times, our governance allowances kind of allow you to take part in the kind of political aspect of it. Planning events and conferences, we're trying to get some of those more running. If you're someone who's just kind of more of a event person or a planning person, there's a word that I'm missing, then this is for you as well. Teaching other students, we've got our class, we've got presentations like this. It's a good way to kind of get more into that. And then, professionals, we have a huge alumni network and also just tons of ins with the industry. Developing projects, as I mentioned, we've got a couple coming, and yeah. So how to get involved. Here are some resources, and I'm not going to spend too long on, but please, if you guys are interested in this kind of stuff, there's tons of good resources on the internet, and reach out to us because we can supply you with some really cool stuff. And the most important place to be for all of it is our Discord. As again, since COVID, everything's very much been online, so the Discord is kind of our home. It's where everything's going on. It's a pretty tight-knit community at the moment, so you can just reach out to us directly. It's starting to warm up a little bit, which just feels really nice. You just come in, let us know what you want to do, and we can help you get there. That's the link. I will post it again in the chat. I also have the QR code on screen, so you should be able to scan that. But there's not really a very formal joining process. Just come in the Discord, hang out, ask questions, talk, and that's kind of our onboarding process. Yeah, I think that's my last slide. If any of the other board members want to add anything, please do. Otherwise, we'll answer as many questions as we can. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that I feel like you guys want to add? The question about CS 188 being offered in the spring, I'm not sure. I believe it is being offered.
Yeah, the course is still tentative. No final word yet, but schedules go out next week. I should have more clarity on that.
Cool. You're welcome, Evan. Is there anything else before I guess we end the meeting? Chat. Oh, are we recruiting for joining the board? Not channel members. Okay, I believe it's very much an ongoing process. Jason could probably answer this better than I can. Also, I don't know if we've fully decided if we want to have like a rolling system or a yearly system.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to kind of just be involved in leadership in general is having, kind of just reaching out to like us individually, or just, us in the group, but individually is probably most effective. And then kind of seeing where you can fit in terms of like getting some, like helping with events and so on. And as for board, it's like a pretty gradual process. We kind of take things as they go. So we're, pretty flexible. But yeah, I think as for now, just kind of getting to know us is probably a good step.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Just kind of hang around as much as you can and start to talk to us. Question about resources. I guess I can talk about some of these. These are slightly older, so there might be some better resources, but the main ones I want to point out are once you kind of have a good fundamental understanding of a lot of these things, you should absolutely be reading the white papers and the yellow papers. Those are these links in kind of the middle. Those are kind of the technical explanations of these actual chains. But as far as more smart contracty stuff goes, you have to learn Solidity. Solidity is the programming language that smart contracts are written in for the most part. There is a read the docs here, and I personally learned Solidity through Crypto Zombies, which is widely considered one of the best resources on it. That's that bottom link there. It's getting a little old now, but it's still one of the best, like kind of, it's like an interactive game almost where you learn Solidity. And most of the community still agrees that it's like the best way to go about doing it. Additionally, there is our Discord is definitely the best way to get direct help. We've got a resources channel and we've got a noob help channel. Ask questions in there if you have any. And we will also be working on kind of pushing some beginner resources through there. There's a good link in the chat if you might want to check out. And then also Zeke has mentioned his, or I'm not sure if you mentioned it, but we mentioned that we're going to be starting probably a beginner workshop. So stay tuned for that. But in general, the best way to kind of get into these things is just to start using them. Yeah.
All right, cool, awesome. Yeah, I hope that answered everyone's questions. You know, Jack did a really good job of kind of covering all the kind of aspects of what we're trying to do, we're trying to focus on. So yeah, we got a really cool vision for the club. Really cool stuff has happened as a result of this club for both the individual members and for people like that are in the community. So again, like we're here, we're just a social club. We're here to, you know, bring you guys forward within, you know, this technology, help everyone out, you know, try to bring the space forward as well. So yeah, cool. Yeah, awesome. And thanks everyone for coming. I know this meeting time is a bit, could be a bit inconvenient. So also, you know, we have that when to meet link that Jack posted. So if you guys have a better, different preference, so it would also be good to fill that out.
Sweet. So if there's nothing else, I guess we'll sign off. Yeah, see you guys in the Discord.